Clelia, and I work as a librarian at Ames Public Library.
I'm Alissa, and I am the Resource Services Manager at the Ames Public Library.
We're here to give you some recommendations for our third annual 12 to Try reading challenge. For the month of November, the challenge is a book by an Indigenous author. Stay tuned for our suggestions, or come to the library and check out our display promoting the challenge. Alissa, what have you got first?
My first book is The Firekeeper's Daughter by Angeline Boulley, and it follows Donna Fontaine, who is an 18-year-old Ojibwe girl navigating her life between her Ojibwe roots and her white roots on Michigan's Sugar Island Reservation. Her plans for college get derailed by several family tragedies, including her uncle's suspicious death. And after witnessing a murder linked to a dangerous new form of meth spreading through her community, she reluctantly goes undercover for the FBI.
Whoa.
So yeah, it turns into kind of a mystery, and she uses her knowledge of chemistry, her Ojibwe medicine knowledge, and community dynamics to just work with the elders and the people in her community to investigate this a little further. And she uncovers different layers of corruption from trusted community members that she knew and respected, and the line between the realities of addiction, violence, and just systemic challenges faced by her people, throughout the book. It's a really rich tapestry of Ojibwe culture, language, spiritual beliefs, and she learns to embrace her identity and protect her community. It's a really, really, really good read.
That's cool.
I highly recommend it. What's your first one?
My first book I chose, we actually read this for my book club View from the Margins last year. It's called Winter in the Blood by James Welch. It's older, it's from 1974. I usually once a year choose like a classic title. It was part of the Native American Renaissance literary movement that started in the 1960s. Other authors from that are N. Scott Momaday and Leslie Marmon Silko. This is a debut novel, but it has a really clear voice and a really cool vision. The story is set in Montana on Blackfeet and Fort Belknap reservations, which is the area that the author's from. It has a young male protagonist who has a lot of demons. He's very conflicted and self-destructive. He's kind of figuring out who he is. He reflects on his past, family, and trauma that he's kind of suppressed. And the story is not very plot heavy. He's just kind of wanders through some barren western towns and meets some weird characters. It's also about his struggles with relationships and women. It's kind of bleak, but it's beautiful writing, and it's a very moving ending and kind of self-discovery kind of book. And it's just written very clearly and has a really cool voice.
That sounds really good.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to take that one.
It's very cool.
To read.
Yeah.
After this. But
what is your next book?
So my second book is by the same author. It's called Warrior Girl Unearthed, and it's not a sequel. It just has some of the same characters as the previous book. It follows Dennis's cousins, I believe. So it takes place about 10 years after the first one, and it features Perry Firekeeper Birch. She's a 16-year-old Ojibwe girl on Sugar Island, and she interns at the Tribal Museum, where she learns about the Native American Graves Protection and Reparations Act, and just the frustrating lack of progress that's been made in returning Indigenous ancestral remains and artifacts to, the rightful places that they belong. And she is particularly outraged, justifiably so, by a local case of a warrior girl who has been, it's an ancient ancestor that was held at a local university. And she decides that the legal avenues take too long, and she decides with her twin and a group of friends to heist these, these remains and reclaim them back to where they should be. And this follows another plot that's also kind of intertwines with just an escalating crisis of the missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls. They highlight that in this book, and it's been happening in their community. And kind of along the way, her and her friends uncover just these connections between the grave robbing and disappearances of these other young women and it puts them in danger. It's a mystery, it's adventure. It explores different cultural identity, colonialism's impact on, people and their communities, and the indigenous resilience within, through it all. There we go. I'll get the words out. But it's, yeah.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, they're both YA books, which I normally don't read, but I had a friend recommend them, and I'm really glad I read them. They're pretty heavy topics for YA.
Yeah.
But they're fantastically written, and just, beautifully told. And there's a lot of heavy themes in there, but I highly recommend them. What is
really
your
cool.
last book?
My last book I chose is The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones. It's a horror book, and it won the 2020 Shirley Jackson Award, which is a big deal. The author is also a member of Blackfeet Nation, like my last book. It's about 4 men, some of whom have moved off of the reservation and some who haven't, and their encounters with a vengeful elk spirit. It's about the dark, mysterious power of nature, sorrow and guilt, and contemporary culture conflicting with old traditions. It's genuinely scary, both in a supernatural and a violent, gory way. It's really atmospheric, and the writing is very realistic and pulls you along, makes you want to keep reading in a way that kind of reminds me of Stephen King, which for horror I think is a big plus.
A lot shorter than Stephen King.
Yeah, it's much more manageable, but it's very cool, and he's a really acclaimed popular author, so he's a good person to check out in general, but this is a really good one.
Take that one too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, thanks for joining us.
I'll return these pretty soon, and you'll be able to check them out too.
Yes.
Thanks.